So today we'll be covering a few topics under the task management in Meshed Hybrid platform. Few agendas that we'll be going through is the academic or progress management on the platform. We'll be going through how the assessment tasks are created and set up in the Meshed Hybrid platform, how those are configured from the interface. And after the tasks are created, how those can be allocated to different subjects, to different batches for the students. And once entered, how the assessment results can be entered for the students and how those can, after that, be transferred as subject results for the student subject enrollments. So the very first portion of this webinar topic will be the assessment task setup itself, which is the very first and primary configuration that needs to be done for the assessment management section in the HiRED platform. I've included a screenshot and the relevant steps that the user would need to complete in order to set up the assessment tasks. Let me know if you're able to see this screenshot properly. However, after we're done with the PowerPoint slides, I'll also take you through on one of our demo platform how the overall setup and the process looks like. So the very first one, when you go under compliance academic progress page, you'll be able to see the page says set up assessment tasks. Now on this page, you'll be able to see various options for the assessment task to be set up. Um, for the primary very first step, you'll be able to select the subject ID and the subject name from the drop downs under which you're wanting to set up the assessment. Now, for a particular subject, there may be multiple assessments that you may have that may contribute to the final outcome of a subject, right? Now, for example, assessment one, assessment two, and then ideally the final exam for the students. Now, all these assessments you'll have to set up in this page. Any other options such as task release date from the class start date or due date after the release date. So those ones based on how you would like the assessment task to be released and when you would like it to be due for the students, you can set those up as well. Now, once the assessment task has been set up, it will appear in a grid or like a table right below all the selection options. It will show all the relevant information that you've just set up. You're able to edit the assessments once they're set up as well. You'll see an edit icon right on the right hand side of your page. Now, once the assessment task has been set up, you'll be able to link it to a particular subject in a batch. Now, for this step, you'll go to task entry page, which is again under compliance and academic management. Now, on this page, you'll be able to see the assessment task that you had just set up in the setup assessment task page. Now, based on the selections that you make for example year, semester, subject, and class, you'll be able to see all relevant assessments will appear in a grid below. Now the first table will see tasks available to assign to subject. The second table, as you'll see it says assessment list for semester, subject, so on and so forth. Now the first table contains the assessments that you can assign to the subjects. Those will appear in a tick box format. So based on the number of assessments that you have already set up in the system, you're able to tick or untick the relevant assessments, and then you're able to assign it to the selected subject above using these green tick icons. Now, because this is a test data, I only have one task in the screenshot, but if you have multiple ones, you'll be able to select all the multiple ones as well. Now, once the assessment task has been marked and then assigned to a subject, it will appear in the second grid or the second table, as you can see in the screenshot. Now, even at this stage, you're still able to modify or make any edits or amendments that you'd like to the assessment assignment that you've just done to the subject. The edit icons, as you'll see, will appear on the complete right-hand side of the screen in the task entry page. Now, these are the very first two steps, setup assessment and task entry, that will be required for you to be able to mark the assessments for the students later. Now, once the assessments have been allocated to the subject and batch, all the students who are already enrolled or who may be enrolled in that particular selected subject and batch, now those same assessments will be applicable to them. On the next page, which is the task results entry, you will be able to see all the students who are enrolled in that selected subject and batch. Now on this page, you'll be able to see similar set of options for selections. For example, semester and term, select subject, select class, so on and so forth, as well as select assessment. Now, based on these selections, you can click on view student list. As you can see from this screenshot, I have few test students here on the system. Now you'll be able to see few students are still appearing in green and one of them appears in green. Now this shows that for the students, for the above two students, the assessment task, the selected task has not been graded yet. However, for the third test student, which is student C, the assessment has already been graded with mark 70 and then outcome D. Now for these two above students as well, if you're looking to grade the assessment, then you're able to tick using the tick boxes on the left hand side. Either tick on bulk for all relevant students, or you can tick the individual students as you prefer, and then you can enter the marks, for example 70, 50, so on and so forth, and the outcome from the drop down, they will be auto assigned based on the grading that you have set up in the assessment grade under configuration page. Now you'll see after this table, at the very bottom of the left hand side of the page, you'll see various icons: update and save, lock assessment, unlock assessment, so on and so forth. Now I have also added few descriptions for how these buttons will work and what each of these buttons do. But just to give you an example, so you select the student records, you enter the marks and the outcome. Now, once you've entered, you're able to click on the update and save button to save the marks and outcome that you've just allocated. Now, once you've saved, if you do not want other users to edit or modify the entered marks, then you can use lock assessment icon or the lock assessment button. So once that is done, the fields, marks and outcomes, so those ones will be grayed out and the users will no longer be able to modify the marks from their end. However, if unintentionally it was clicked, or if you're still looking to update or modify the marks based on any criteria, then you're able to again select the relevant record and then unlock the assessment. So once it's unlocked, you're able to re-enter marks or edit the marks again for the students. You can also approve the assessment to indicate that this is the final outcome we've allocated to the assessment, that these are ready to be transferred to the officially the subject results after that. So reset results entry, what it does is if you select a student and then press the reset results entry button for the record, then it will revert the marks and outcome to 0 and F, which is the default ones available in those fields. Now, once the marks and the outcomes for the assessments have been finalized, you can go to transfer result. Now, what this page does is it will transfer the allocated assessment marks that you have into the subject outcome. So this page just shows the relevant actions that each of these buttons that I just mentioned these perform. If you are looking to have more check on these icons, then you're able to then you'd be able to see this PowerPoint slide later after we've uploaded in our YouTube site as well. So if you want to have a look, then feel free to go back and check it out as well. We're going to move on to transfer results option. So this again under compliance and academic management, this will be after task results entry. As you can see, you'll see transfer results after the task results entry page. Now on this page, you'll be able to see the student records for which the assessment marks have already been locked and approved. Now, as I showed on the previous screen, you'd be able to see that only for student C or test student C, the marks was allocated already and approved. Now, thus on this page, based on that same selection of semester, subject and class, you'll be able to see that only this student appears to be able to transfer the results. Now again on this page, similar to the previous pages, you're able to tick or untick the student records for which you want to transfer the assessment results to overall subject results. Now, if there were multiple assessments or multiple tasks under a particular subject and class, then you'll be able to fill. Then you'll be able to see all those relevant task results, not just one of them. And based on those, you'll be able to segregate the marks and then allocate it as the final subject outcome. Now, on the right hand side, you can either take individual students or all students in bulk using the tick boxes. And then you'll see right below the grade, a transfer result button appears. Now, if you click this button, then the assessment marks that have been entered and approved, so those ones will get transferred to the subject marks. Now, as I said, so let's maybe go through the test site, and then I can show you how each of these actions will actually look like on the system interface. So you will have more idea if you would like to do the assessment setup and then results and grading on your own on the interface. Now, what I have here on the test site is I have one of the test students, test student A, which is enrolled in HM001 subject. Again, I have another student, test student B, which is again enrolled in HM001 subject. Now I'm going to set up assessment task. Now, as I said, you'll be able to set up the assessment tasks on this page. Now, because the test students are enrolled in this particular subject, I'm going to just take the same subject as an example. Now, once I select the subject on this page, you'll be able to see multiple options. Few of them mandatory, few of them are not mandatory. Now, these ones, assessment task description, so on and so forth, you can record as you see fit or as per the requirements for the assessment task. For example, task one, project one, or presentation or final examination for the subject, however best it will work for you. Now, all these other options you can set up as well based on whatever is the requirement. Now, the total marks and the pass marks for the subjects also you're able to define based on how the assessments are gonna be prepared and then allocated to the students for the subjects. Now, once these assessments are already added, so these ones will appear in a grid below, something like this. So out of 150 is the pass marks. So this assessment carries 25% weight of the subject, another carries 25, and then the final exam eventually carries 50% weight of the subject. Like kind of like a general or an ideal case scenario for how the assessments would look like for the subjects. Now, allow upload is the option for if you have the student portal activated for the higher ed platform, then the students will be able to upload the assessment document from their student portal. Now, if you click on allow upload, the upload button will appear for that assessment. However, if it is unticked, then it will mean that there will be no upload button in the student portal. Using final outcome. So this means whether the assessment is going to contribute to the final outcome of the subject. For example, one of the assessments may be a standalone assessment. For example, a quiz that the student is required to take the assessment, but it may not necessarily contribute to the final mark of the subject. So in that case, you're able to tick or untick this based on requirement. Now, release date and due date, as I said, is for when you want the task to be released after the class start date, and when you want that same task to be due for the students after the class start date. So this also you're able to allocate from the interface as you require. And then if you want to make any edit to the already added assessment, then you can click on edit button. Then you'll see that this section will have that assessment already auto selected, and these ones will all be editable field that you're able to edit and modify as you require. So once you edit, you can click on update, and then those same information will be updated in this grid. Now moving to the next option, which is the task entry. So on this page, you'll be able to see the same set of assessments that will appear. So I'm taking again the HM001 subject as the example, and then the same class under which the test students have been enrolled. Now you'll see from this page, from the previous page, the same three assessments that had been added from the interface, those same assessments will appear on this page. Now, two of these first assessments, Project 1 and Project 1 preparation, so these have already been assigned to this subject and batch. Thus, it will appear in the second grid, something like this. Now, the final exam, which is the third assessment that was added in the setup assessment task page. Now, this one, because it still hasn't been assigned to the subject, it will appear in the first grid. Now you're able to take, if there are multiple assessments under this grid, you can select this above icon, which will auto select all of the assessments listed. And then once done, you can click either this icon or this icon to allocate the final assessment to the subject. Now any of these, even at this point, when you are assigning the assessment to a subject, you're able to modify these options as you require. So before you actually assign the assessment, just make sure that all these details are correct and applicable to the relevant subject that you're updating. Now, for example, this assessment, I will just add it to the subject. Now you will see that there is no record appearing under the tasks available, because all the relevant tasks have already been assigned. And then after that, even the third assessment, final exam, now this will appear on the assessment list for semester, subject, so on and so forth. So that means that all these assessments have now been correctly allocated to the subject HM001. Now, once this setup has been done, we can go to task results entry. Now, this is the step where you're going to assign the outcomes to the students. Now, I select the relevant semester year, subject, class, so on and so forth. Now you'll see there will be relevant assessments appearing in the drop down. You can select the relevant assessment, and now you'll be able to see the same set of students who are already enrolled. Now, for example, this student and this student, as I said, because they are enrolled in the subject and the batch, those same assessments will appear for that student. Now, there are two ways where you can allocate the marks for these students for the assessment. So on the student subject enrollment page, if you go to the second icon which says view the academic progress assessment results, if you click on this, you'll see that currently the marks has not been entered for this student. So both of them will have the default selection with these fields empty. Now, similarly, if you go on this page as well, both of these, for this particular assessment, the outcome has not been recorded yet. Now, you can either allocate the marks, for example, 60 or 60 or 80 from this page. The outcome will be auto allocated based on the assessment grading that you've done from the assessment grade page. And then you can click on this green tick icon to update. However, this step, this requires you to add and allocate the marks and the final assessment outcome for the students manually for each student by going into the subject results page, selecting the relevant option, and then adding the marks and outcome for the relevant assessments, right? Now, easier and more efficient way than this one would be to go from this assessment page, assessment bulk page. Now, on this page, you'll be able to see all students, and same as you could do on the individual page, you're able to add the marks, for example, 80 for this student, which is HD, and then 75 for this students, which is outcome D. Now, if you're looking to update these outcomes for these students, then you can tick on tick. For example, I'm only updating the outcome for this student B. Now you can do so. If any comment is applicable, then you can add the comments as well, and then you'll be able to update. So update and save. Once the task has been updated, this will now appear in a green background. This means the assessment has already been graded but not yet logged and finalized. Now, once you are sure that this is the final assessment results that has been allocated and is now ready to be transferred to the subject result for the students, then you can log the assessment and then approve the assessment. However, if you find out, so once locked and approved, this is going to be grayed out, no longer modifiable, unlike the other record where the field is still modifiable. For example, this. Now, if you feel this is incorrect or it may have been added unintentionally, and you're looking to edit, then you can still unlock the assessment. Or if you're looking to reset the marks entirely, then you can click on reset, and then it will go back to the gray ungraded. Now, for example, I go back and grade this assessment, update, log, and then approve. Now you're able to transfer this result to the subject outcome. Now, to transfer the final results, you can either use this button over here, which says go to transfer result, or you can use this option at the very top of the page, which says again transfer results. Now I'm taking this option. Now again on this page, you're able to make the relevant selections. Now, as I did on the previous page for student B and student C, the marks has been allocated to the students, right? Now, based on this, I'm able to select either just one student or both the students, and then I'm able to transfer. Now you'll see the subject outcome will also be auto displayed in the grids here. You can also use this icon over here to view the subject marks and then the subject outcome, so on and so forth. And then you can transfer results. So once you transfer the results, if it has been successfully updated, you'll get a green message, confirmation message saying the results have now been updated successfully, and then both the icons as you see in green. Now, because we've just updated this assessment project one assessment for this student B, we can maybe check. So for this student B, we can check, for example, for this, the final subject mark has been transferred now, and then you'll be able to see from this page project one assessment. Now, because the project one presentation, which is the second assessment, hasn't been graded yet for the student, this one will not appear. However, ideally what you do is you grade the project one assessment, you grade assessment two, you grade assessment three, everything. And once you've graded all relevant assessments under a particular subject, only then you would transfer the results from this page. But because this is demo, I'm just showing you how the ideal process would look like. Now, this is the overall process of assessment setup to the final marks grading for the students. We also have other options, which is the import assessment result and import subject outcomes. Now, these options, as you'll see on the right, these ones, this one and this one. Now, this allows you to download an Excel template, predefined download Excel template from the system. Now, those ones will contain predefined options for subject related details, and then editable marks and outcome field. Using that, you're able to upload and then transfer results directly for the assessment and then subject. However, these are optional solutions, and then they may be covered in a different webinar altogether, where in detail one of the presenters will be able to show you how the import options will look like for the higher ed platform. I think we've almost reached the end of the webinar now. If you have any questions or concerns regarding the assessment setup or the overall process for the assessment management on a higher ed platform, you can leave comments in this webinar, or you can also reach out to the support helpline either via phone or support@meshgroup.com.au. You can also check out this webinar recording once it's been uploaded. It should be uploaded in a few business days in our official Mesh Group YouTube channel. So feel free to check out, or not just this, any other features in the system that you may have any confusion or questions regarding. Many of these features we've already covered during our Friday Spotlight webinars, so you can also check them out if you'd like. With this, I'll be taking my leave. I hope everyone has a good day, and thank you all so much for joining this webinar today.